For practice at exercise 16.7 delete back, we did this code in part 1, and now part 2, we will be looking at this from a recursive standpoint. So we don't have any methods passed in, which is good, and we have a while loop in here. And this while loop we can actually put in a recursion method. So if we comment all of this out, we say our normal code, and then just below it we type in recursion. This is going to be our recursion code. We can copy a few things. We can copy this first part right here. So we're copying our method name, and if our front is equal to null, then throw new NoSuchElementException. We also need to see if there is only one value in here, so we are going to copy this down here as well. And if we want to do this more with a flow, we can have these two values up here and have them as our variables, and then underneath that we can have our statements, and this can be turned into an else if statement. And now we would be going into our while loop here. We can actually take this else statement out, it's not needed, and we'll see that we'll have a while loop. So our while loop is going to represent our recursion, and inside of it is what we need to look at. So all we need to do is have our recursion now, and inside of it we are going to pass in our current, and we have to make sure that we are returning this. After we have all of this written out, we are done with our deleteBack method. Underneath it we'll have our recursion method, and this is going to be public. It's going to be an int, and we're calling it recursion. Inside of it we are having a ListNode as our parameter current. In here we need to have everything that is in here. In here we are basically going to go through our list until our next is equal to null. And if our next is equal to null, that's when we are going to break and return. So we can write if current dot next is equal to null, and inside of here, if this happens, we are going to have our value equal current.next.data, current.next equal to null, and then return value. So this is basically what happens when our next is equal to null. What would happen here after this loop? We need to initialize our value. So we're going to have an int value equal to 0 here, because we haven't passed in anything. We don't have any other value, so we have to reassign it down here from instead of being up here. However, if our current.next is not null, we can run this code. We can have current equal to current.next. So we're kind of iterating through our list, and then we are just going to have this next value go through our recursion. And then we are going to just return that, close up our method, and submit. And we have passed all 6 tests. As a summary, we can go over this real quick. So in our delete back, we need to get the last value and then delete it from the list. So in our normal method, we have int value equals 0, which will store our value. We have ListNode current equal front, which will get our list. And if our list is empty, we'll throw a no such element. If our front.next is equal to null, so if there's only one value in our list, this is the only value that we are going to return, then we are going to remove it, leaving us with an empty list. If we have more than one value and our list is not empty, we are just going to go into our recursive method to try to see what the last value is. In here, we assign our value to 0, initializing it, and we have an if statement if our current.next equals to null. This is our base case here. We're going to set our last value, which is current.next.data, to value. We'll return that value and make that value null, like it asks us to. And if our next is not null, so if we have a bunch of values we need to go through, we will iterate through our list and go through our recursive method.